Welcome to the Clean Classrooms for Carolina Kids training on understanding your lead and water results. This program is a partnership between RTI International and the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, along with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction as a liaison. My name is Morgan Finch, technical support staff for the Clean Classrooms for Carolina Kids program, and this video will help you understand your two-step test results. This video overviews the Understanding Your Two-Step Lead and Water Test Results flyer that can also be found using the link or QR code on this slide. We recommend different actions depending on the level of lead found in your water. For lead levels below the laboratory detection limit of 0.1 parts per billion, we recommend practicing clean water habits. Clean water habits are helpful for all taps, regardless of your results, to protect children's health and reduce lead exposure. Although no amount of lead is completely safe, this level of lead is below the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended maximum for lead in drinking water for children. If lead is found to be above 0.1 parts per billion and below the North Carolina action level, we recommend following no cost and low cost risk mitigation. For any taps at or above the state action level, you must restrict use of that tap for drinking or cooking until mitigation has been completed. If lead is detected above 150 parts per billion, you must restrict use of that tap for drinking or cooking. The program will provide further support to evaluate the source of lead. If a tap is found to have lead levels of 150 parts per billion or more, turn off the tap or post "Do not use for drinking or cooking" signage. You must restrict tap use, and we will ship another sampling kit to your facility to conduct follow-up first draw and 30-second flush samples. For lead levels at or above 150 parts per billion, follow-up samples are collected to further investigate the source of lead so we can recommend the best plan for mitigation. Typical mitigation actions, such as installing water filters or replacing faucet fixtures, may not be effective solutions for treating levels of lead this high. Follow-up sampling is a two-step process. The kit will contain 2 sample bottles per tap. For the first draw sample, you'll collect water that has been sitting for at least 8 hours. After the first draw sample, flush the water for 30 seconds. Then, take a second sample. Follow-up sampling instructions will be printed and included in your kit. Instructions can also be found using the link or QR code on this slide. First draw samples tell us about potential sources of lead close to the tap, like the faucet and fixtures of that tap or nearby pipes and solder. 30-second flush samples indicate potential sources of lead distant from the tap, such as plumbing components in other areas of the building, lead service lines, or goosenecks. The results for your follow-up sampling will appear on your results page. The type of sample is shown under sample type. You'll see results for your initial sample that tested over 150 parts per billion and for your follow-up first draw and 30-second flush samples. These results can help us understand possible sources of lead in the building plumbing. To date, we have found that lead typically originates from a nearby plumbing component like the faucet or a combination of nearby and distant sources. In this example, the follow-up first draw sample tested at 59.79 parts per billion, and the 30-second flush sample tested at 0.40 parts per billion. Because high amounts of lead were detected in the first draw sample, and a small amount of lead was detected in the 30-second flush sample, this indicates that the faucet or plumbing directly connected to the faucet is very likely the source of lead. We recommend you stop using this tap for all drinking and cooking immediately and replace it with a certified, lead-free stainless steel faucet. To protect against other possible sources of lead in the plumbing, consider installing a low-cost filter certified to remove lead. In this example, the follow-up first draw and 30-second flush samples both tested above the state action level of 10 parts per billion. High amounts of lead detected in both samples mean there are likely multiple sources of lead, like the faucet and pipes far from the tap itself. Because the follow-up samples are below 150 parts per billion, low-cost solutions, such as installing a filter certified to remove lead and replacing the faucet fixture, can be used to reduce the levels of lead at this tap. For results at or above 150 parts per billion, there may be additional sources of lead in your piping or plumbing. If the follow-up samples are under 150 parts per billion, you can use low-cost solutions to reduce the levels of lead. If the 30-second flush sample is greater than 150 parts per billion, water filters will not be effective, and additional mitigation is required. There is likely another source of lead in the plumbing other than the faucet that should be removed before installing a water filter. Do not use this tap for drinking or cooking. There may be additional mitigation funding from your utility or from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. We can support you with connections as needed. Please note that if any taps tested over the state action level of 10 parts per billion in initial sampling, the mitigation request form must still be completed, even if follow-up sampling is lower. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please check our frequently asked questions page. You can use the link on this screen or scan the QR code. If you cannot find your answers there, please contact our team using our Contact Us page or call or text 888-997-9290. The Clean Classrooms for Carolina Kids team is here to help you through this entire program.